Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, coming at you with another video today. We're going to be breaking down a budget and hopefully easy to find deck list to play that is not only inexpensive but highly competitive as well. Before we get started though, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. I do put out regular content about the hobbies that I love the most, with this channel being dedicated to the card games that I play. Now with this particular build, I wanted to accomplish two things. I wanted it to be a relatively inexpensive deck, but I also wanted it to avoid a lot of the harder to find set 2 cards. Product has still been very hard to find at a lot of locations out there, and this particular build has a lot of the set 1 cards in it, and most of the set 2 cards that are in it are either in the starter decks or at the common and uncommon spot. I'm going to break down the actual deck build. We're going to show you a couple sample games, and at the end of the video we're going to go over a modified non-budget build at the very end. And I will tell you right now, this deck absolutely performs as good as any other non-budget deck out there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, we're here on Dreamborn, and as you can see, the shopping tool has this deck clocking in at $97.48 if you have none of the cards yourself. It is a little higher than the previous budget build that I did here, but there are a lot of set 1 cards here, including the most expensive card in the deck is a set 1 rare. So hopefully you already have a lot of these cards and you can cut this cost down even more substantially. As you can see, the cost curve here very heavily centered on this 3-drop spot, with a lot of focus in setting up these first 3 turns in the game. Color is just about a 50-50 split on the Ruby and Amethyst cards in the deck. Inkables clocking in at 14, a tad higher than I like to build, but most of them have definitely earned their spot in this particular deck. And again, most of the cards are going to be character cards in here, followed up by songs and then non-song actions. All right, so take a look at the cards in the list here. We start off with a 3-3 split of Olaf and Minnie Mouse. There's no like especially good reason that one of these can't be a 4 and the other one be a 2. The biggest advantage is that in the first turn of the game, if you have a Minnie Mouse and you can ink a red card in your hand, it keeps them from knowing your second color for maybe a turn or 2 longer. And same for the Olaf. That's really the only reason why I have them as an even split, and it's a very minimal reason at that. So if you have 4 Olafs and only 2 Minnie Mouses or vice versa, these are interchangeable quantities. 4 copies of Madam Mim. This card is an absolute house. I was a big fan of this card whenever I saw this one. The stat line on a 2-drop is really just monstrous. It trades favorably with every other 2-drop in the game, obviously allowing some extra value out of these other characters, and that's kind of why it's essential to hit these 1-drops early on for turn 2, being able to drop her. Later in the game, she'll help you cycle some of your like Merlin cards and interplay effect cards to just a truly monstrous amount of card advantage. This card is an absolute MVP in this deck. I am running 2 copies of the 2-drop Pinocchio. I wasn't running this guy initially, but I found that in especially the budget builds, it was really hard to kind of control the boards of certain decks. So the inclusion of the Pinocchio kind of helps this deck get where it needs to. Following up a 2-drop 3-3, you can play this Pinocchio and tap down a character that they may have, and exert a character that they may have kept back because they were afraid of the Madam Mim. So you can come in, exert that character, and then allow you to challenge with the Madam Mim. Later on in the game, you can cycle him with the Rush Madam Mim to get extra value out of it, and then being able to play him late game into like a Scar following him up, or into a Maui to follow him up, can take care of a lot of really big characters that they may have just played as well. Just a really good inclusion to a deck, especially on the budget side where we may not have access to the most expensive removal cards in the package. We have the 3-drop Mim that we just mentioned. Again, just an absolute all-star in this deck. Her ability with this stat line to come in and rush is fantastic. Her ability to bounce and reuse your early plays also is fantastic. And the fact that she is inkable on top of that, if you don't need to play her and need to get to your higher drops, is just phenomenal as well. You don't get a lot of rushers that are inkable. Like Maui is kind of the standout there, and he's one of the best removal rares that we have in the game right now. And I think Madam Mim is right there with him, like a 1A, 1 and a 1A. And this card is going to be around for a while, I would imagine. Anytime you're playing Amethyst, this 2-drop Mim and this 3-drop Mim are going to be important cards, so worth the pickup. Luckily, she's in the starter deck, and her price is pretty low, despite being a huge part of the meta right now. We do have 4 copies of Maleficent in the deck. Still a great value card. Obviously, not the same level of card draw that she was in set 1, now that we have Merlin in his rabbit form, but she is inkable and still draws a card and still can sing Friends on the Other Side, so not a bad option there. That takes us down to our Aladdin here. I like Aladdin at a 4-drop in these builds. I've seen some that are playing the uninkable Lady Tremaine that comes in at 2. Has a similar ability if your opponent is ahead in lore that they can take a lore from them. I just prefer this particular package. 1, because he's inkable, and a lot of times you may not be behind in lore with this particular build because it is a little bit more aggressive than some of the control decks that are in the format. But 2, the deck is already so high in uninkables that I just don't know that it can support any further ones on there. And I don't think the Lady Tremaine, even in the non-budget versions, really needs to come out any sooner than turn 6. So I'm not sure that the shift, opening up that shift line of play, really helps all that much. We always have the bigger Aladdin in this deck as well to add some little value on this as well. We have the 3-drop mini here. We have a 2-drop evasive character on 3, which is just phenomenal. Her stats aren't super important. She does survive a lot of the splash damage that's in the format at least once, with that 3 willpower over 2, so that is nice. She can't be hit with a single copy of Teeth and Ambition or Let the Storm Rage On, so she does meet that kind of minimum survivability with that 3 willpower. Her strength is almost entirely irrelevant, as she is not ever going to be challenging, and there's not a ton of playable evasive characters right now that would be challenging her, especially not on turn 3. So it's just a upgrade over the Pongo, who was on 4 in the previous set. Just trading off 1 strength to get down a full turn earlier is a very, very good trade in my book. Then we have the GOAT, both literally and figuratively. This guy is already shaking up the way the game is played. His ability to produce guaranteed lore when he enters play and whenever he exits play is really kind of taking the meta by storm, and all that at an uncommon. Less than $1. 3 of these in the starter deck as well, so should not be very hard to get your hand on this particular card. Inkable, good stats, and then again, he hits play and he's a guaranteed 2 lore, possibly a 3rd lore if you can quest with him. And you've got enough cards in here that are going to be bouncing him back naturally anyways. Just a very phenomenal card all the way around. I've already won a handful of games just top decking this guy at the end, either at 19 or at 18 with the way to bounce him into my hand. It's just that inevitability that an aggro deck really wants to have. We talk about the 4-drop Merlin a little bit earlier, the rabbit form here. Only real drawback by this card is that it is an uninkable card in a deck that's already running a lot of uninkables. However, he is very worth the spot, and part of the reason why we can run a higher number of uninkables, because whenever he enters play, he is going to draw a card, and whenever he leaves play, he's going to draw a card. Couple that with the fact that that 3 willpower right now actually does survive quite a bit in the format, and you just have an all-around good value card, especially in a deck like this that's already playing its own sweepers. And be prepared. You can kind of load the board up with these Merlins, and if you do fall behind, you can banish all the characters on the board, and then you're going to refill your hand because you had these Merlin rabbits leaving play. All right, next up is Maui. We talked about him a little bit earlier. If you've been playing at all, you should not be a stranger to this guy. One of the best removal cards we have in red. This guy is an absolute house. These stats on a 5-drop are just absolutely phenomenal. The fact that he has Rush and is inkable is also just particularly good. When this deck hits turn 5, your opponents just always have to be worried about this guy coming down. On turn 5, there's literally one character in the game right now that can survive his onslaught, and that is the shifted 7-drop Cinderella. And even then, he does put a hurting on her. And this deck can reuse the same copy of Maui over and over again, dropping a Maui down and then following it up with a 2 or 3 drop Mim to return him back to the hand to get a fresh Maui to challenge again, either that turn or the following turn. Pairs very well with the Pinocchio as well. And just a ton of value on this particular character. Next up, we have Aladdin, the Heroic Outlaw. A lot of people aren't playing this right now, so this card actually, despite being everywhere in Set 1, can still surprise people in Set 2 meta, because he comes out of nowhere on that turn 5. They may be expecting a Maui, but instead you can come down and shift onto your 3-drop Aladdin, and either quest for 2 or challenge one of their characters for a 4 lore swing. He is inkable too at our top end, which helps a lot because a lot of the top end for Ruby and Amethyst right now is uninkable, but in this budget build, we're able to get a little bit more value out of this inkable Aladdin, who can actually just steal some games with his shift and this daring exploit ability. For our non-singable actions here, we have 4 copies of Dragonfire. This is a card that's not getting a ton of play right now as people are opting to play the super rare Lady Tremaine. And that is a good card to be upgrading for if you do have those. The Dragonfire, though, does still answer some stuff that the Lady Tremaine can't handle. And I have found some situations where the board has got 2 or 3 characters with only one of them really being a threat, and a Lady Tremaine can't answer the problem, but a Dragonfire still can. It is a large number of uninkables for this list, but a necessary evil to be able to take care of those cards. All right, next up, that brings us to our song package. We have 12 songs here, 4 of each. We have 4 Teeth and Ambitions. This card is basically in here to destroy your opponent's turn 1 queens or their turn 1 Cinderellas. You can play it on your turn 2 onto your Olaf and your Minnie Mouse to have them survive, bounce them the following turn to heal them back up. And then this card is just absolutely essential for slowing those decks down in the early game. This card can finish some characters off late game as well. And again, because you're bouncing your characters in and out of play, or you're actually wanting some of them to leave play, like your Rabbit Merlin, so that you can draw cards, this card can actually still be really impactful in the late game. And just don't forget, you can sing this with pretty much every character in your deck since it is a 2-drop song. Friends on the other side should need no introduction, but it is a 3 of in this deck. Again, a good chunk of the characters in this deck can sing it as well, so just make sure you take advantage of that whenever that opportunity provides. I will say the Maleficent and the Friends on the other side, where in Set 1 you really couldn't get away with inking them at all unless it was just a last resort card. I would prefer to keep the bounce Mims in hand versus the draw cards from these, because they'll recycle value cards while keeping bodies in play. So I will say in the Set 2, don't be afraid to ink those 2 cards. Now, don't get me wrong, they're good, and I would avoid it if you can, but not quite the last resort that it was in Set 1. And then lastly, we have our most expensive card in the deck coming in at $7.78 a piece. We have 4 copies of Be Prepared. This card is the catch-all. Honestly, probably the least healthy card for the current meta. It really stifles a lot of deck builds that are out there, preventing a lot of setup of any kind, because this card can just come in and completely erase all effort prior to that point. Now, there's not really any way for this deck to cheat it out any sooner than turn 7, but with Sapphire decks out there able to get this thing off on like turn 5, it really is just not in a great place. However, it does fit the colors that we want, and we can take advantage of its effect as well. This one kind of is just that, hey, we got behind even in our aggro deck, but we can still play this one to clean up kind of effect. Now, hopefully we never need to play this and you finish the game with all 4 copies in your hand and absolute board presence. But chances are, 1, in this meta, your opponent's going to be playing it too, and keeping you from getting too far ahead, or two, you are eventually going to run into a deck that is a little bit faster and goes a little bit wider than your deck does, and it's nice to have these cards in there as well. So that's it for the deck. Let's go check out a few games with this, and we'll look at the modified build at the end of the video. All right, so here we are at top of gold. Maybe we'll close out platinum here with it, get a few games in with our budget Ruby Amethyst. All right, so no one drop here. We're going to keep our card draw. Get rid of the uninkables. I don't really want the Aladdin chain. I keep something that draws and our 2-drop play and go from there. And there's our 1-drop Minnie Mouse. Oh, and lots of bouncing cards. That's great. Throw down Aladdin and a Minnie Mouse. Let's see what we're playing against. Possibly a mirror deck. Okay. Definitely don't need the second Minnie Mouse. Quest here. Bounce that Minnie Mouse. I have seen a couple of the red Ruby Amethyst builds I've been playing the past scout. I'm not a huge fan of it, as there's just a lot of targeted removal getting played right now. Let the Storm Rage On and Teeth and Ambition. I just think it gives a lot of decks a target early on, and I don't think it's particularly great there. Let's see. I think I'm going to ink that mini. We're going to draw a card. Hey, Goat Merlin. Let's take that. Okay, we got Arthur here. But as of right now, he doesn't have any untap Arthur, so we'll see if he gets still a LeFou. I am going to drop this Mem, and we're going to drop the Minnie Mouse. We're going to try to race this guy here. We pretty much have a play no matter what next turn, since we have the 2 rush Mems in our hand. So even if he does have a rusher to take out our big Mem here so that he can get Arthur somewhat protected, we should still be good. Now if he drops a LeFou here, it puts us on a pretty short clock. Okay. Hopefully we can draw maybe a Dragonfire here would be nice. As it stands, we're losing this race. Not sure what we're waiting on here. There we go. Let's go ahead and sing this, see if we can get to an answer. Nothing there, unfortunately. Guess I killed a Pascal. We really are digging here. Don't know. I think he's probably just going to keep replaying that. I guess we'll give ourselves a little diversity here. Yep. Did he not quest with the LeFou? That's pretty bad. Let's see, 12. Yeah, I think all I can do here is race at this point. He's got, what, 4, 5. If he plays a goat, I lose, but I don't think there's anything else I can do about it, unfortunately. So he doesn't have a great way to challenge me currently. But I'm sure he's playing a number of rush characters in there. So I don't think I win next turn, but maybe it buys me another turn to draw something to deal with his Arthur. If he has the goat Merlin, I lose, though. Oh, that's interesting. Guess he didn't have it. I have it no matter what at this point. That's cool. All right, that was a close one. All right, we got our 2-drop. Do not want that be prepared. Get rid of all of this. And hopefully hit a 1-drop here. Now this is where it happened. If it was best of 3, it would be more advantageous. We know more how to mulligan this hand. We may not need Teeth and Ambitions at all. If we're going up against another mirror, they don't really play much early on. It's a really unfortunate draw, though. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Still doesn't have to be the Teeth and Ambitions, though. So we got another mirror again. Cusco. Gotta say, not a huge fan of Cusco. So we're all pretty much just a turn behind now since we didn't hit that 1-drop. I think as long as we can avoid drawing another Be Prepared for a couple turns here, I think we should be good. Arthur, huh? I think I'm just gonna quest as normal here. Can't really get much extra value out of the Cusco. I'm gonna ink the Maleficent since I have 2 rabbits in my hand. Pretty good. So this is like, we're talking about the stats on this Madam Mim, like, require him to have something to protect this Arthur, because my 2-drop challenges very favorably into his 3-drop. Draw a card. Okay, Sorcerer's Spellbook. Alright, that's pretty good. What should we do? This Pinocchio. Tap that Arthur. Challenge there. We're going to ink Friends. And play a Minnie Mouse. So we've got like 2 or 3 turns of questing with this right now. And we're going to be committing Merlins to the board too. So even if he does have a Be Prepared on 7, he should be good. Play Maui here, not be able to activate his spell book. He's got to be cautious really playing anything, though, because he doesn't know if I can bounce this Pinocchio. All right, Cusco is definitely not what I'm scared of here. Okay, take the card draw. It's a pretty good card draw at that. Let's see what we get off this Merlin here. Another Pinocchio. So I think I'm going to hold on to this. I don't think I'm going to be in a big hurry to get up to 7. If he does Be Prepared, I'll have my Merlin to draw a card off of it. So that's probably a pretty big tell that he has a Be Prepared in his hand. He's just not going to put anything onto the board here. I don't get these Cuscos. Not at all. Just quest and quest. Play goat. We'll go ahead and ink the teeth at this point. Quest for 1. There's 2 Maleficents gone. Yep. I'll follow it up with Goat, Maleficent, if I can hit an inkable here. I didn't. Let's see if I draw one with her. I did. Alright, sweet. in a pretty good spot right now. We've got the Dragonfire if he does play something big into the board. We've got the Mim to bounce the Maleficent. I don't like the big Mim at all there. It's just quest, Dragonfire. Yeah, I mean, I guess we Olaf. Go ahead and bounce this Maleficent. In case he has a Scar. Scar would have been pretty bad there. Okay, don't mind that. That's 16, 17 on the board. I'm gonna assume he didn't have it be prepared. That's pretty funny. Go ahead and bounce her in case he draws the be prepared. Guess I could have replayed her a second time, but I'd rather keep the Maui. Alright, so once we untap, we're in GOAT territory, so to speak. I'll put us at 19. Where obviously a GOAT would win anything. Okay. I think he saw that too. And decided to take care of it. Let's see what we draw with Maleficent. That's pretty good. We're just going to play... Let's see. Actually, we've got win with that. So we're going to leave it like that. Has to be prepared. We can just drop Minnie Mouse next turn. And it really just forces him to continually have removal. I think we've got this one. It'd be a lot of work for him to come back from 16 down. I ain't gonna do it. Be prepared, I think, was the only out at this point. Alright, there we go. One more win, we get platinum. Okay, we got a 2-drop. And a 3-drop. Without a 1-drop, I don't think I can keep this Teeth Inhibitions this time. I'm just going to keep these two. Ooh. Don't want to see another one of those. Alright, not too bad. Got the Minnie Mouse. Problem might be we just have too good of a hand at this point. We got like really one inkable option right here. All right, we got the mirror here. It looks like. I don't know. I think I'm gonna get rid of a goat here and see how he handles a exerted Minnie Mouse. I want to get rid of my other 3-drop play in case he commits to to killing her, but it looks like he's just gonna do his thing. Okay. LeFou, probably an Arthur build, which is fine. I think we're just going to ink a Maleficent and play a Maleficent here. That's pretty good. I think I will save Minnie Mouse for that Teeth and Ambition. And get rid of his LeFou if he has an Arthur here. Yep. That's what we wanted to see. Alright. Going to quest with her. Bounce her. Challenge Olaf. Ink her. Worked out pretty well. Hopefully he doesn't just draw another LeFou here, but at least it was slow him down a turn because he won't be able to use the Arthur this turn. Yep. Alright. I stand corrected. Oh, okay. We good now. Just trying to figure out what was going on there. Let's see. Merlin Rabbit. That's a pretty nice rip. I would imagine he's going to stick with what he's doing. So this will kind of time walk him because he's going to be setting up this recurring Arthur. Probably just replaying his LeFou. 3-drop, I guess you could have a Maleficent as well. Well, not the Maleficent I was talking about, but that is a Maleficent. Let's see here. Ink. We will exert. Challenge here. We're going to go ahead and draw. We may need to get another Teeth and Ambitions. We didn't. So we'll just quest. It's a pretty aggressive build. We've seen 2 LeFous though. So hopefully not another Arthur. A spellbook, so he's just going to try to finish it out here at the end. So Aladdin's going to come in pretty helpful for that. Challenge all these guys down. We're going to play Aladdin. He can't go off next turn. So we get at least one full turn with all of us down here. Have a Maui and a Be Prepared, which is fine. Merlin Goat, I'm at 15. Okay, there we go. Takes us to platinum. All right, let's see if we can get something that's not a mirror match here. This is a pretty darn good hand. We don't have any card draw, so that's the one thing we're kind of looking for. Let's see if we can get a piece. There we go. The Merlin. Be Prepared kind of hurts, but The Merlin's what we wanted. Get rid of Aladdin. And to Olaf. Come on, not Ruby Amethyst. Not Ruby Amethyst. Let's play against something else. Hey, Steel Song looks like. Steel Song it is. Very nice. Let's see. Okay. Got his flute. We got our teeth and ambitions. Take care of that Cinderella. Gonna ink Olaf. And we're gonna go ahead and return her back to our hand. Now we don't want to get the big hand against this deck because they, let's see, will be singing A Whole New World a lot of times. So we want to make sure that we're inking every turn in this particular matchup. You know, keeping 3 to 4 cards isn't terrible. Like, you don't want to, you know, just completely. I don't get that at all. Just hoping I don't have a bounce spell to use on it next turn. I don't, but seems a little risky for 2 lure and a card draw. This is kind of the sweet spot where you want to keep your hand. Not quite ready to get rid of the teeth and ambitions yet, because you have the queen, probably playing Stitch. Okay. The fact that he can't sing that is pretty good. That's a pretty good draw for me there too. Where he's at right now, I think I'm going to go ahead and ink the Maui. Just keep getting lore on the board. Okay. Keeping that teeth and ambitions worked out pretty well. Well, we're just going to Dragonfire here. Actually, what is the best play here? Let's see. I can play Maleficent. That's pretty good. So yeah, let's go ahead and sing there. Let's go ahead and bounce him. Go ahead and ink that. So he'll be able to sing this term, which is fine. I guess if he has it. Grab your swords. Okay. Draw. Pretty good. think we're just going to head and sweep here. He's got 2 singers in play, which could set up a big turn for him if this is a whole new world. Cinderella, just fine. Actually, play Rabbit. We might not. I think we just play her and Dragonfire her. So he is in top deck mode, and we're actually in a pretty good spot right now. Let's see what we got here. It's not terrible. What do we want in here? I guess draw 2, maybe? Now that is interesting. We're going to ink the mem and just be done. Okay. That's surprising there. Just going to try to race to the end here. Okay. Aladdin opens some stuff up. I think we're gonna just go here. Draw. That's pre-busted draw. Bounce the mini first. Challenge there. Play the Aladdin. Replay the mini. I'm worried about next turn. No, if he gets a whole new world and plays it, it's fine. Can't sing it right now. He could shift, I guess, one of these two. There we go. Not too shabby. Let's see. I think this may just pretty much do it here. He's the bigger shift problem. Then yeah, just play another Minnie Mouse. And we'll keep him in case I need to draw a goat next turn for some reason. It's going to require a lot on his part. Kill the Aladdin easily enough with Cinderella. But he's got too many mouses that he has to kill. Yep. Whole new world. He already inked, so he can only play one grab your sword. That would be off the Cinderella. I think that's all she wrote, bud. Good game. This may actually be the list that won the PAX tournament that we're playing against right now with our budget build. All right, there it is. All right, so we have our updated list here. As you can see, we have about doubled the price, and we've added a lot of set 2 cards as well. We've kept the same 1-drops here and 2-drop into Madame Mim. Now we've added the LeFou and Arthur package here as well. LeFou, Arthur, if the deck is not playing, if the deck you're playing against is not playing targeted removal, this is a win condition in and of itself, and a pretty fast one. 1 Arthur and a LeFou represents 4 lore a turn without playing anything else other than just replaying the LeFou each turn, which can just create a ton of advantage. Arthur is problematic for a lot of decks if he stays in play, as he is able to recycle a number of cards in this deck that can just do some really, really gross things to your opponent, and I really like his ability overall. The 3 willpower means that he can survive quite a bit, especially since this deck is very rarely going to leave him challengeable. It's usually either going to restand him or bounce him with the Madame Mims. Really like this card a lot. Really, the only downside is him being uninkable in a color combination that's already running a lot of good uninkable cards. We do have the Maleficent and Aladdin still. We do cut the 7-drop Aladdin, but Aladdin with Arthur is pretty degenerate against decks that don't necessarily have a way to go wide in the late games. If they're trying to rely on cards like Spellbook or Flutes to kind of close out those late games, this combination right here represents a 4 lore on your turns and a -1 lore on each of their turns. Can really, really change the math on a lot of the games. I mean, I've had games where I've taken 7 lore away from opponents with multiple Aladdins and recurring with Arthur. And if you don't need his ability, again, he's always inkable for that spot as well. Still have the Merlin packages and the Maui packages. We get into our 6 drops, and we have upgraded our Dragon Fires to a 3/3 set of Yzmas and Lady Tremaines. So Yzma here, a lot of times, is going to be used on your own characters. You're going to quest with them, play Yzma to put them on the bottom deck, and then draw 2 cards. She does kind of fill the role of like that Dragonfire for that must-have spot removal, though. So if your opponent's got the win on the board, she does allow you to bottom deck that win and then just replace it with 2 cards in your opponent's hand. Not ideal, obviously, but the number of times that can just steal games from individuals can make a huge difference. But again, you're going to really want to play this on your own characters. Playing a rabbit on 4, being able to quest with it on 5, then on turn 6, playing her down to bottom deck him, draw 2 cards for her ability, and then draw a card for the rabbit leaving play. It's just a very strong combination. If you've got like a 1-drop from earlier in the game that's still in play, you know, you can play them on 7. Honestly, just drop the 1-drop real quick, play her on for 6, bottom deck it, and then draw 2 cards is not a bad place to be either. Both cards get replaced in your hand, and you're left with a 4/4 2 questing body on the table as well. Just a very solid card all the way around. We have Lady Tremaine. Lady Tremaine is just a fantastic card all the way around. One of my favorite arts that I saw whenever this deck, or whenever the card was first spoiled. And I would argue the best, if not the at least top 2 of the Enchanted's artwork for this particular set as well, which is a really great ability. Her ability comes down whenever she comes into play, you're going to be able to make your opponent choose one of their own characters to banish. It gets around ward, it can hit readied characters. It's just a phenomenal follow-up to like be prepared. You're going to clear their board, and next turn they're probably going to try to recover with like the best card out of their hand, and then she just comes in regardless of what it is and takes that card out. Her with Arthur is a soft lock for a lot of decks that are in the format right now. You just have the ability to completely keep them off of a board unless they can play and commit multiple cards to the board on any given turn, which is just a phenomenally powerful combo in and of itself, and decent stats to follow that up with, being a 2 lore generator that's going to survive a lot of the direct damage stuff that we see in the format currently. We have a singleton copy of Scar in the deck, the new legendary Scar. I have him in here as kind of the 4th copy of Be Prepared. While I do like Be Prepared, this Scar kind of gives you the ability to have like a one-sided Be Prepared. And what this does that Be Prepared can never do is actually win you the game with the ability to generate 2 lore if you need to actually generate lore at the end of the game. Keep in mind, you can return this guy to your hand with a lot of the effects in here as well, so you can keep him fresh after clearing your opponent's boards. But I've played games where this guy has come in and killed 4 characters on my opponent's side of the board and left my board completely unscathed, which is obviously going to be preferred rather than just trying to catch up by playing a 7-drop banish all characters effect like Be Prepared. I haven't replaced Be Prepared entirely with him because sometimes you need to be able to take care of characters that are unexerted, and he can't do that currently. And he can't do that in this current build. So I do have him as the 4th copy of Be Prepared in there, but I could see upping the copies of this guy down the road, just depending on how the meta kind of shakes out. And then our song package is basically the same: 4 Teeth and Ambitions, 4 Friends on the other side. And then instead of having a full 4 copy of Be Prepared, we just have the 3rd copy that we replaced with the Scar. So there you guys have it, a budget set to light build of the Ruby Amethyst list. Let me know what you guys think of the list down in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, Hobby Hero out.